All right, I think everyone should be back in the main room now. I hope that you had got some helpful information from the breakout session that you were part of. I know some conversation may not have wrapped up, but if you do have any follow-up questions, please feel free to connect with the facilitators or connect with myself or Jamie, and then we'll be happy to answer any of your questions. And unfortunately, we weren't able to record the breakout sessions, so I will make sure that I connect with all of the facilitators to get their notes and be able to share that with all of you so that you have that content on hand. Before we jump into our student panel, anyone have any questions? Jamie, do you have anything that you want to note before we jump to our student panel?
Not at this time, but obviously we are here to assist you with your recruiting plans and connect you with our students, so don't hesitate to reach out to myself or any of the team.
All right. So at this time, I will ask for our student panel to go ahead and introduce yourselves. And you can turn on your camera.
Ashley, why don't you go first?
All right. Hello, everyone. I am Ashley Reeder. I'm Ashley Reeder. I'm majoring in accounting and getting a certificate in ERP systems for project management. I am currently working at the FDIC as a financial management scholar, but I've also worked in private and public accounting internships, as well as having a background in criminal justice.
Okay, Jade. Jade, you want to turn on your microphone and introduce yourself? No, she was here before. Okay, she might be having some technical difficulties. Yannette, why don't you introduce yourself next?
Hello, everyone. Thanks for having me. My name is Yannette Fernandez. I am an engineering technology major here at UW Oshkosh. So my background is in leadership development. Besides being a student, I'm very involved in Toastmasters International, which is an organization, nonprofit, it's all over the world that works with developing great leaders and other personal skills as well. And this year I commenced as a area director for our district, so I'm very excited to be here. Thank you.
Okay, and Jade, are you able to introduce yourself? Okay, I'll figure out what's going on there. Austin was not able to join us today, so Mania, I'll turn it over to you and I'll touch base with Jade.
So thank you so much to our students for participating on today. So it's really an opportunity for you, for those of you that are attendance, to ask our student any questions that you have about general recruiting, and feel free to type those questions in the chat box. I'll go ahead and start with the general question that a number of our organization always ask. So for the students, when you are looking for opportunities, that could be internship or full-time jobs, what attracts you to an organization? You're Ashley. Yeah, so I would just say for both the Ashley and Nat, you go ahead and just keep your mic on.
Okay. For
Ashley,
me,
do you want to answer?
I tend to look for good employee morale as well as a good culture. And when I'm looking at internships, I'm looking for places that I could potentially work at after graduation, so that I kind of approach internships as a tryout, so I can show the employer that what skills I can all do, and I can also get a feel for the environment. On top of that, especially when I'm looking for internships, I like a lot of flexibility, because I think that will translate into the full-time job as well. So if they're willing to work with my school schedule, and I'm very active on campus, so if they try to accommodate my life as much as I try to balance everything out, I feel that's a very strong point for it.
I agree with Ashley on the work culture, and being flexible with interns and co-ops. Leading up to something more promising long term is very important as well. Another big thing for me is location, because I plan on remaining either a part-time or full-time student, more likely part-time during the semester. So having an employer being flexible with my school schedule is really crucial.
And it looks like Jay was able to join us. So Jay, do you want to jump in and introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Jade Dragich. I'm a senior this year. I'm a business management major, and I currently work for Secure Insurance as their subrogation intern.
Awesome. And Jade, do you have anything you want to add? So when you're looking for opportunity, what would attract you to a organization?
Personally, for me, company values and company culture is the biggest thing. I would say with Secura, there was one point where, I wasn't loving my job, but what kept me there was the people. They were so friendly. I just love working with everyone. And I'm from the Milwaukee area, so Appleton is not really where I want to be. But because the culture's so great there, I don't mind having to travel an hour every day to go. It's worth the drive for me to have such a great company culture, to work for such a great company.
That is awesome. So as we're looking at just the playing on how things have changed, what would set an organization apart from others in a virtual recruiting event or fair?
I'll go on that one. I'll start it off. One thing that sets a company apart, when I went to the career fair at UW Oshkosh in fall, and I met my employer, one thing that set them apart was they took a team of great recruiters, HR, engineers, just a little bit of everything, and I got to meet new people. And when I started my job, my internship, I already knew faces. I already knew, Anna, who was in HR, and it made it a much easier transition. They emphasized their internship program and the things they offered their students, the benefits, the fact that they were, we could ramp up to full time in the summer, and that was very promising. And that's what intrigued me, was just the people, like Jade said, is really important, especially for someone who's starting off in a career.
In addition to that, I would also add that when recruiters offer advice on what exactly they're looking for, and it's not just me giving my elevator pitch and that's it, having some give and take, and that's really how I'm going to determine whether it's someplace that I want to work. Is I want to learn more about what the internship offers, what kind of training opportunities and advancement opportunities you have, because I'm not particularly looking for something that's just right now. Even though the internship is an entry-level position, I want to grow and I want to know about those different opportunities that are there.
I think Ashley did a great job of just like being able to show you the next step. You know, like this is what you're gonna have for now, but eventually you could go here if you put in the work, or you could go there. You know, ways to expand yourself. I love to see.
Great. So a number of you have mentioned or alluded to company culture and said that that's important to you. You know, what does that look like when you said I want to join a organization that has a good company culture? What does that actually mean or look like or entail?
I can go first. At Secura, you know, I work in claims, and you don't see the prettiest things every day. You know, you're dealing with different things every day. And for people in my department to keep a smile and be positive and just be nice to each other really makes a difference, you know, because the work we do isn't always fun, but it makes it easier when your coworkers, you know, they help you along the way. If you have a question, they're there to answer. It's, you know, there's no judgment or anything. They always want to help you progress and help you learn more. And I love that about them. And just a positive attitude also can just go a really long way.
Absolutely. And when I'm looking at different businesses, I will definitely look at their diversity and inclusion policies and see. One thing I will look at is the date, because sometimes, or some of them are going to be very recent, whereas if it's a company that has been encouraging these different inviting practices and not just focusing on diversity but inclusion of different areas and ideas, that to me that speaks to innovation. And it also tells me that they're welcoming and open to new ideas and that they're open to change. And to me, that's really important because I'm a non-traditional student. So it's seeing that my ideas are going to be accepted and welcomed is really important to me. And even on a moral level, I think it's really important. So seeing that and being open about that is really important to me, as well as having that welcoming culture. Because I've definitely had internships where they didn't treat the interns very well and kind of treated you like you were their lackeys. And that's, to me, that's not going to translate in a good job after I'm graduating. That's not going to be the type of place that I'm going to want to continue with, because if they're treating me not very well and not very welcoming at the beginning, I don't see that changing. And overall, my satisfaction in a company is going to be not as good, because if they're not welcoming and open and to more ideas, I don't see that changing very quickly. And there's a lot of places that are already on board with it that I could probably find.
Ina, you're muted.
Oh, I tend to mute in between, so there's no back noise. Like I said, Ashley and Jade summed it up really well. Being in an inclusive environment and just feeling like you're part of a team and having a voice really matters. You can envision yourself there afterwards, and that's important, especially if you're recruiting or if you're in dire need of able people. And I had a great mentorship program where I think they really worked on at Alliance Laundry Systems. I was an intern there in spring, and they had a great mentorship program. I had my mentor, and then I had my supervisor, and my supervisor allowed me to follow her to meetings, and I was with other people in other departments, and it was beyond just my department. It was the whole company as a whole. That the people there were amazing, and of course there were negative things about my job as well. There was a lot of frustration on the floor with the employees, working in the assembly line, or just, it's a very physically demanding job. And my job was I saw it as building morale and being an extension, a liaison between the department supervisor, the team leads, and the operators on the floor. Yeah, I think that's a very important thing, being inclusive.
All right. So where do you look when you're looking for opportunities? Where do you typically look?
I'll look in, if there's specific companies that I have in mind, I'll specifically look at their company websites. I'll also look at Handshake and LinkedIn. I think they're great resources. I'll especially reach out to a lot of my connections that I have on LinkedIn and get in touch with them, see if they have any positions available that they think that I would be a good fit for, and let them know that I'm looking and keep me in mind. And I've had actually a couple of my internships have started simply by reaching out, and they would tell me, this is available, I think you'd be a good fit for it, and I ended up applying. And that's part of the reason I ended up at the FDIC, is I started connecting with some of their recruiters. Sorry about that. Some of their recruiters at the career fair, and he reached out to me and said, we have this program and the applications are due such and such a date, come and apply. And it ends. I'm loving the internship right now.
I do the same LinkedIn Handshake, but I also take advantage of our career center. I actually got my position by going and meeting with Chelsea, who works in the career center. Sakira had reached out to her, and that's how I found this position. But I would say mostly just LinkedIn and Handshake. I search.
So I also search on LinkedIn and Handshake, but for me, I take advantage of all the campus resources. I prepared ahead of time before the career fair on the Fox in last fall. I went in and talked to Richard Marshall, who is our career advisor and an internship coordinator. He's on the call probably. I thought I saw him. And he was very helpful in preparing helping me polish up my resume. And I, asked him questions and what should I expect of the career fair. And so career fair was a big thing for me. That's when I got my interview, and the UW Oshkosh is a great resource. You're welcome, Rich.
All right. So Kate asked, if you started or have been working during COVID, what has your organization done to keep you engaged? Or what suggestions do you have for the organization to keep interns or students engaged?
Jade, you can start since I know you're working at Sakura.
Okay, so for us, they've just been trying to do Zoom meetings. They have allowed us to do an outing with wearing masks and stuff. I don't know how many people are going, but pretty much they just try to do meetings, play games. I would say they're kind of struggling with also having people engaged. You're not the only company, but I don't have any great ideas. I mean, I feel like the Zoom and the game works great. I mean, especially for your options. I mean, you're limited on options due to COVID, so they work well for us.
Go ahead.
So I had a different experience in spring. I had this internship, and I was let go because of COVID. It wasn't just me. It was all of the interns and co-ops that started in spring in January. And I wasn't really surprised surprised when I was let go because I had a meeting scheduled. It was very urgent, and I was let go immediately. So I was sad to see the people. I was sad to say goodbye to my friends that I've made at work. But one thing I wish they would have done differently is maybe reach out to the interns afterwards and let us know if there was a possibility of going back or not. It's always hard in these situations, but I wish they would have done something a little more different instead of just sayonara. know.
You are on mute, Ashley.
Sorry. I had a similar experience. I was working a public accounting internship that right when COVID was starting, luckily I was able to get a lot of my work done and wrap things up with that internship. It did get cut short, but I feel like I still got some good experience working from home. And with the FDIC, I wasn't entirely sure whether I was going to be able to do it because my field office is in Princeton, Illinois, but they've had mandatory telework this entire time. So we've been doing meetings through Microsoft Teams. They also, since they had a little bit more time to prepare before my internship started, they increased our access to computer-based training videos, as well as they have a huge resource of different training, and we could also go on to sites like LinkedIn Learning to do training through there. So a lot of it has been computer-based training and doing not necessarily, I'm still able to do a lot of the examination work that I'm would be doing if I were in person, but the computer-based training definitely fills in those gaps, and I think I'm almost getting just as much that I would be in the virtual environment, even though I'm not having that in person-to-person contact like I would have had if we were opened up. I still think I am learning a lot in this virtual environment.
Awesome. So I know we are right at 11:30, so I want to be mindful of those employers that have to go. But before we jump off, Eric, do have a question. So one last question: how much do you feel like most? So how do you feel? Do you think students will actively engage in virtual career fair, or how likely are students?
I think it would depend on the setup of the virtual career fair. I've attended conferences through different organizations like Beta Alpha Psi and IMA, and they've gone very well. I think the biggest thing that students are going to miss is the face-to-face contact that you would get in in-person networking. So if there's a way that you can facilitate that as much as possible, I think it's very likely that students will attend as long as it's set up correctly.
I agree. It's important to have some face-to-face interaction. It's difficult. I've attended also conferences through Zoom, and they always go well. There's usually breakout rooms where it's more of an intimate setting, and that always helps. But when I had my the career fair on the Fox last fall, I was able to schedule something, an interview right after, and it went well. So I'm wondering how that's gonna happen for students this fall or future career fairs, virtual career fairs. There's a way to do that. Yeah.
In our handshake session, I talked about the importance of continuing to have your interviews, even if it's going to be virtually, to have it set up in handshake so that students can continue to engage with our employers. So we are right at that time. So any last advice you will give employers or organizations who want to recruit from UW-Oshkosh?
Make sure you're on the same page with your employers and be open about your expectations and what you can offer to students. And we're ambitious, so we like to know what we're getting ourselves into, and as long as you're open and honest about it, you won't have any problems with us.
Being open to different majors is my recommendation. My internship was looking for a business, supply chain management majors, and 2 engineering technology majors were hired from UW Oshkosh, and a business major. She was awesome. But just being open to different majors and looking more at their background, what they can offer, is important.
I think you guys hit it on the head. You know, be honest about what you're capable of, and if you can't give the intern what they want, then that's fine. You know, they're not the one for you. There might be someone else that's a better match for your company too. So.
All right, thank you. I really appreciate our students taking time and providing your expertise and advice for our employers and organizations. So if you do have any additional question, please feel free to type it in the chat box. I will try to get through the questions that we did not get to. I will pull up my contact information as well as Jamie's contact information on here, so that if you do have any questions, please reach out. I appreciate everyone taking time and joining us today, and I do apologize for the technical difficulties that we experienced today, but hopefully you were able to take some useful information with you as you get up for the recruiting season. So thank you everyone for joining us.